Maeve is just full of life. She is funny, she is spunky, she can be a little bossy, but she really is, I think, if to describe her in one word, just loving, and she just exudes happiness. And that's the only way I can think to describe her, is happy and joy.
Yep, she definitely, that's I think the biggest takeaway that we've had from people we've introduced Maeve to, is that she just brings a lot of happiness into the world. She loves people, she's a people person. We just brought her over to my parents, who she hadn't seen in a couple weeks,
Yeah.
and she was just giddy with laughter. So she's very much a people person, and just has such a great, wonderful personality. Maeve has a genetic syndrome called DDX3X. This syndrome has a lot of similarities to autism, where it's on a spectrum. Many of the kids who have it have developmental delays, and also some physical challenges. She had a rough couple of months of her first couple months of life, where she had to have open heart surgery, and she's had to have spinal surgery and a couple other surgeries, and then.
Yes, unfortunately, it's a pretty rare condition, so we don't know much about it yet. It's only impacting about 600 girls worldwide. There are a few boys, but it's just a genetic error that randomly occurs, so it's not inherited. But unfortunately for Maeve, she is the youngest diagnosed because she's one of the more severe. Usually it takes a couple years for families to find this out, but for us, we found out at 6 weeks, so we were lucky in a sense. But also, nobody's ever lucky when you get a genetic syndrome on your diagnosis list. But, we've come a long way with her, and she's really overcoming a lot of different barriers and doing more than they anticipated for her. We found Easterseals actually just through, I'm a therapist myself, so I had kind of known that they were the best in town. We had talked to Lurie's during, when she was down there, about where should we go for therapy, and they just all said hands down, Easterseals is where you need to go. So we started kind of researching, what therapy we should get there. We tried a few other places for her feeding, but Maeve really gets, if there's a therapy, she gets it. Through Easterseals specifically, she gets feeding therapy because right now she can't eat by mouth fully. She also gets physical therapy, occupational therapy. Eventually, she will also be getting full-time speech therapy there, which she does currently get half of her speech therapy there, but specifically she gets her assistive technology therapy, which is she's going to be primarily a complex communicator, which means, in the layman's terms, nonverbal. And so she needs to use a device to speak and learn to communicate. So she also works with a therapist through Easterseals, and they're fantastic. You can't find a better team than Easterseals. Maeve is brave, in the true sense of the word. She is just the toughest little girl that we've ever met, toughest person I've ever met. She doesn't get upset about little things. She goes into things that adults would be complaining about and writing probably blogs about, talking about their hard times, and she tolerates it. And she's brave little Maeve. That's why we have the sign in her hospital rooms that a nurse had made for us that says Brave Maeve. Like, that's who she is.
She doesn't even cry when she's getting an IV or getting blood draws. She was able to even nap through one blood draw one time. Yeah. She's just so unbelievably brave. Yeah.
She laughs when she goes to the doctor's office. She thinks they're her friends. I mean, she's a tough cookie. Maeve's biggest accomplishment is that she's alive. That is really the biggest thing that she's overcome. And I'm sorry I'm gonna get emotional, but she has overcome so much in her little life. From surviving heart surgery to, they told us she would be blind and deaf and unable to speak, unable to eat. And now we have this beautiful 2.5-year-old who is watching Peppa Pig and eating peas and crabbing at me because she wants more. And she's learning to walk when they said she probably wouldn't. And she's learning to sit up when they said she couldn't. So anytime they'd say no to Maeve, she just says yes. And I couldn't be more proud of her because the world was not on her side. And she said, too bad for you. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. So.
She's just the absolute hardest worker I've ever seen. I just can't believe how much she wants to walk and talk and communicate and eat. And with all the challenges she's had, a lot of kids just would be like, this is too hard for me. But she just is working so hard to get everything that she wants.
I think the biggest thing that we would just kind of like to add about Maeve would be that Maeve is just like any other child. A lot of times when you're working with a child with special needs, or you're dealing with family with special needs, you get a lot of these, oh, they're an angel, oh, they're inspiration, and they're almost looked upon as if they're here to serve society, to teach us a lesson. But Maeve, that's not Maeve. That's not Maeve's purpose in life. She's a human being like the rest of us, and our hope and our desire for Maeve in our world is that she's going to have happiness just like any parent would want for their child. She's going to do what she wants to do, and she's going to contribute what she wants to contribute, not what society dictates that she should be contributing. And yes, she has her challenges, and yes, she is different in some ways, but we're all different. And so I really don't want people to see any child, not just Maeve, with a disability as less than. And I think that's the biggest thing we want people in our life to understand about her, is she is who she is, just like I am who I am, and he is who he is. And I think that's the biggest thing that we're hoping throughout this whole process as Maeve grows, is to help people understand that disabilities does not make you in a separate class of human being. We're all just people, and we just want people to love her. That's really it.
Yeah, and just see her, as like you said, as an equal person. We want it to be normalized and not something that's seen as something that can't be talked about, or you can't interact with her like you would a normal child. She's a normal child, and yes, she has some challenges, but she also loves being with people and loves doing things that other kids love to do. So.
Yeah.